At an upscale bistro in the heart of the city, a poised and elegant black woman arrives to celebrate her birthday in style. But her night takes a sharp turn when a dismissive waiter and an indifferent manager treat her with thinly veiled disrespect, brushing off her reservation and leaving her waiting while others are seated with ease. As whispers grow and humiliation simmers, the restaurant's fierce and determined owner walks through the door. What the staff doesn't know is that they've just underestimated this elderly black woman. The late afternoon sun dipped below the horizon, casting golden streaks of light through the city skyline. The streets bustled with activity, couples walking hand in hand, groups of friends laughing as they headed toward dinner reservations, and street musicians filling the air with melodies. Amidst this urban hum, Olivia Grant, an elderly black woman, stepped out of her car, pausing for a moment to soak in the lively atmosphere. She glanced at the glowing sign above the restaurant entrance, Blossom Bistro, and smiled. The elegant, ivy-covered exterior exuded warmth and charm, a perfect match for the upscale yet inviting ambience inside. Olivia had always felt at home here, not just because of the delicious food and refined decor, but because this place represented something deeply personal, a symbol of success and perseverance. Her daughter, Sophia Grant, had opened Blossom Bistro 5 years ago. It had started as a small dream, built with hard work, sleepless nights, and unwavering determination. Olivia had been there every step of the way, offering encouragement and sometimes even rolling up her sleeves to help paint walls and arrange furniture. Now the restaurant was a bustling hotspot, drawing in a steady stream of customers and praise. Tonight, however, wasn't about reflecting on the past. It was about celebrating the present, Olivia's 65th birthday. She had reserved a table the day before, imagining a quiet evening filled with laughter, good food, and perhaps a small surprise organized by the staff she had grown so familiar with over the years. She wore a navy blue dress, simple yet elegant, accessorized with a pearl necklace that once belonged to her mother. It was a piece that grounded her, a reminder of the strength and resilience passed down through generations. As Olivia stepped through the doors, the familiar sounds of clinking glasses and soft music enveloped her. The aroma of roasted garlic and fresh herbs hung in the air, instantly making her stomach rumble. She glanced around, noting the soft candlelight reflecting off polished wooden tables, each adorned with fresh flowers. The atmosphere was lively yet intimate, exactly what she had hoped for. Her gaze swept across the room, searching for a familiar face among the staff. Instead, her eyes landed on a new, unfamiliar figure behind the counter. He was young, perhaps in his mid-20s, with sharp features and a crisp uniform. His name tag read Ethan Moore. Olivia approached the counter, her heels clicking softly against the floor. She smiled warmly. "Good evening," she began. "I have a reservation under the name Olivia Grant." Ethan barely glanced up, his pen tapping against the reservation book. "Grant," he repeated, flipping through the pages with a detached expression. "Yes," Olivia replied, still smiling. "I confirmed it yesterday." Ethan frowned, his eyes darting down the list before looking back at her. "I'm not seeing that name here," he said, his tone flat. Olivia blinked, momentarily thrown off. "Are you sure?" "I spoke with someone on the phone. They assured me the reservation was noted." Ethan let out a quiet sigh, as though already tired of the conversation. "I'm sorry, Mom, but we're fully booked tonight. There's no table available." The words hit Olivia harder than she expected. She had envisioned this evening so differently. Clearing her throat, she tried again. "Would you mind double-checking?" "I made the call myself." Ethan raised an eyebrow, clearly unimpressed. "I've already checked. Like I said, we're at full capacity. Maybe you can try somewhere else." The suggestion stung. Olivia's smile faltered, but she kept her voice steady. "I understand it's a busy night, but I've been coming here since this place opened. I'd really appreciate it if you could." "I said we're full," Ethan interrupted sharply, his tone losing any pretense of politeness. The bluntness in his voice made Olivia pause. Something about the way he was looking at her, dismissive, almost condescending, sent an uneasy ripple through her chest. She had felt this before. Too many times, in fact. The feeling of being judged, overlooked, or dismissed simply because of how she looked. But this was her daughter's restaurant. She shouldn't have to feel this way here. Taking a calming breath, Olivia straightened her shoulders. "May I speak to the manager?" she asked. Ethan's eyes flickered with irritation, but he nodded and disappeared into the back. Olivia stood at the counter, her hands resting lightly on the polished wood. She could feel the eyes of a few nearby customers glancing in her direction, their curiosity barely concealed. She smoothed her dress and waited. Moments later, a man emerged from the kitchen. Daniel Lewis, the restaurant's manager, approached with a practiced smile. His balding head shone slightly under the lights, and he tugged at his tie as though already bracing himself for damage control. "Mrs. Grant," he greeted, his voice overly cheerful. "I'm so sorry about the mix-up. It's been a busy night, and I think we may have overlooked something. Let me check again and see what we can do." Olivia softened slightly at his words. She had met Daniel before, a competent manager who had always been professional. "Thank you," she said. "I appreciate it." Daniel turned to Ethan, whispering something that Olivia couldn't quite make out. Ethan simply shrugged in response and walked away without another word. Daniel turned back to Olivia with an apologetic expression. "We're definitely full right now, but if you don't mind waiting a little while, I'm sure we can get you a table soon," he said. Olivia hesitated, her instincts telling her something wasn't right, but she didn't want to overreact. Not yet. "All right," she said with a nod. "I'll wait." Daniel gestured toward the bar area. "Can I get you something to drink while you wait?" Olivia declined with a polite smile and took a seat near the entrance. She folded her hands in her lap, willing herself to be patient. Olivia Grant sat in the waiting area near the bar, her hands lightly folded in her lap. The soft hum of conversation and clinking glassware filled the room, but Olivia barely noticed. Her thoughts lingered on the brief, unpleasant exchange she'd had moments earlier with the young waiter, Ethan Moore. She glanced toward the entrance and watched as couples and families were greeted warmly and escorted to their tables. Some arrived without reservations, she overheard them say as much, but they were seated promptly. Meanwhile, Olivia remained by the bar, waiting. She took a deep breath and reminded herself to stay calm. Daniel Lewis, the manager, had assured her that he would sort things out. Maybe it really was a mix-up, she thought. Mistakes happen. But something about the way Ethan looked at her, the way he spoke to her, left a bitter aftertaste she couldn't shake. 10 minutes passed. Then 20. Olivia shifted in her seat, her patience starting to fray. She spotted Daniel emerging from the kitchen, carrying a clipboard. She raised her hand slightly to catch his attention, and he approached with a rehearsed smile. "I appreciate your patience, Mrs. Grant," Daniel said, glancing quickly at his clipboard before looking up. "I've been keeping an eye on the tables, but we're still a bit backed up tonight. It shouldn't be much longer now." Olivia nodded politely. "I understand it's busy, but I did confirm my reservation yesterday. Are you sure there's nothing available?" Daniel hesitated, his smile faltering just enough for Olivia to notice. "We're working on it," he said. "I promise." With that, he disappeared into the dining area. Olivia watched as he approached Ethan at the counter. Their conversation was brief. Ethan shrugged and shook his head before walking off. Daniel returned to the kitchen, leaving Olivia exactly where she had started. 30 minutes turned into 45. Olivia shifted in her chair, her unease growing with each passing moment. She tried to remain composed, but doubts began to creep in. From her seat, she had a clear view of the dining area. Several tables stood empty, and more troubling, new guests were still being seated. Some of them openly admitted they hadn't made reservations. Her hands tightened slightly around her purse as she stood and approached the counter once again. Ethan was there, rearranging menus. He barely looked up as she approached. "Excuse me," Olivia said, her voice steady but firmer this time. "I've been waiting for nearly an hour now. I noticed several groups have been seated without reservations, while I'm still here." Ethan finally looked up, his expression a mask of indifference. "They had reservations," he said quickly, not bothering to check the book. "I heard them say they didn't," Olivia replied, narrowing her eyes. "Well, maybe you misheard," Ethan snapped, his tone sharp. "Look, I've already told you we're full. You'll have to wait or find another place." Olivia felt her pulse quicken. There was no mistaking it now, he was lying. She didn't raise her voice, but her words carried weight. "Are you refusing to seat me because you think I don't belong here?" Ethan flinched, but his expression hardened. Don't put words in my mouth, Ma. I'm just doing my job. His words stung more than Olivia expected. She had faced moments like this before, subtle acts of exclusion disguised as policies or misunderstandings. But not here. Not in her daughter's restaurant. She drew in a breath, steadying herself. I'd like to speak with the manager again, she said. Ethan let out an exaggerated sigh. Fine, I'll get him. Daniel appeared again, his clipboard gone but the nervous energy still clinging to him. Mrs. Grant, he said, his tone placating. I understand your frustration, and I sincerely apologize for the delay. We're trying our best to. This isn't just about the wait, Olivia interrupted, her voice calm but firm. I've seen multiple parties seated without reservations while I'm still here waiting. Your employee has repeatedly told me there are no tables, but I can see empty ones from here. So tell me what exactly is the problem. Daniel looked caught off guard, his eyes darting briefly toward Ethan before landing back on Olivia. I'll sort this out, he said hastily. Just a few more minutes. Olivia didn't argue. She simply returned to her seat, but this time her patience had worn thin. She noticed a few customers glancing her way, their curiosity piqued by the growing tension. An hour had passed. Olivia checked her watch, frustration and embarrassment bubbling under the surface. She was on the verge of leaving when her phone rang. Sophia. A wave of relief washed over Olivia as she answered. Hi, sweetheart, she said, trying to keep her voice steady. Happy birthday, Mom. Sophia's cheerful voice filled the line. I can't wait to celebrate with you. Where are you right now? Olivia hesitated. I'm at Blossom Bistro, she said softly. Oh, perfect, Sophia replied. I'm on my way now. How's everything so far? There was a pause before Olivia answered. I'm still waiting for a table. The silence that followed was thick. Still waiting. Sophia's voice dropped, sharp with disbelief. You made a reservation. I did, Olivia said. But apparently there was a mix-up. No, Sophia said, her tone darkening. There's no mix-up. Sophia's voice turned brisk. Mom, I'm pulling up the reservation system right now. Give me 2 minutes. Olivia sat back in her chair, clutching her phone, as the tension in the air thickened. Moments later, Sophia's voice returned, low and furious. There are 6 empty tables, no reservations. Olivia closed her eyes. She had suspected as much, but hearing it confirmed brought a lump to her throat. I'm coming, Sophia said. Stay there. The line went dead. Olivia set her phone down and folded her hands in her lap. She could already picture her daughter walking through those doors, a storm brewing behind her eyes. The tension in the restaurant thickened as Olivia Grant sat back down in her chair. Her eyes drifted toward the entrance, expecting her daughter Sophia to arrive any moment. She could still hear the faint echoes of Sophia's voice over the phone, sharp, commanding, and filled with anger. But Olivia wasn't angry. Not yet. She was tired. Tired of the waiting, the humiliation, and the gnawing realization that this wasn't a misunderstanding, it was something uglier. She tried to ignore the curious stares from other patrons. A couple sitting a few tables away whispered to each other, occasionally glancing in her direction. Olivia forced herself to stay composed, straightening her posture and folding her hands in her lap. Another group entered the restaurant, 2 young women, chatting animatedly. Olivia watched as Ethan Moore, the same waiter who had dismissed her earlier, greeted them with a bright smile. He didn't even glance toward the reservation book. Right this way, Ethan said, grabbing Menace and leading them to a table near the window. Olivia's stomach tightened. She could clearly see 3 empty tables in that section. Her jaw clenched as she glanced toward the bar, where Daniel Lewis, the manager, was nervously checking his phone. She stood up and approached the counter. Excuse me, Daniel, Olivia said, her voice calm but resolute. The manager looked up, startled. Mrs. Grant, I was just about to. I need an honest answer, Olivia interrupted, her eyes locking onto his. Why are other guests being seated while I'm still waiting? Why am I being told there are no tables when I can see empty ones from here? Daniel's face flushed. He opened his mouth, but no words came out. Behind him, Ethan hovered nervously, pretending to wipe down the counter. Is this because of me? Olivia continued, her voice growing heavier with each word. Because of how I look. Or because you think I can't afford to be here. Several patrons turned to listen. Daniel visibly stiffened, his eyes darting toward Ethan as if searching for support. But Ethan remained silent, his back turned. That's not it at all, Mrs. Grant, Daniel said quickly. We're just trying to. To what? Olivia pressed, her voice firm. Keep me out. The murmurs grew louder, and Olivia caught sight of someone at the far end of the room holding up a phone recording. She took a breath, steadying herself, but before Daniel could answer, the restaurant door swung open. Sophia Grant stepped inside, her heels clicking against the floor with purpose. Dressed sharply in a tailored suit, and with her dark hair pulled into a sleek bun, she exuded authority. The restaurant seemed to quiet the moment she entered, all eyes turning to her. Her gaze immediately found Olivia. Mom, Sophia said, crossing the room quickly and placing a hand on her mother's shoulder. Are you okay? Olivia nodded, but Sophia could see the tension in her mother's eyes. Turning sharply, Sophia fixed her gaze on Daniel. What is going on here? Daniel stammered. Miss Grant, No, Sophia cut him off. Don't. I already checked the system. There are tables available. I want to know why my mother, who made a reservation, has been sitting here for over an hour while walk-ins are being seated. Daniel's face turned pale. It's just been a busy night, and there was a mix-up with the reservations. Busy, Sophia snapped. I can see the empty tables. And a mix-up? My mother has been humiliated in her own daughter's restaurant. Do you understand how unacceptable that is? Her voice rose slightly, cutting through the murmur of the crowd. Daniel shrank under her words, but before he could speak, Ethan stepped forward. She didn't have a reservation, Ethan blurted out defensively. I checked the book, and her name wasn't there. Sophia turned to him, her eyes cold. And did you bother to double-check? Did you even think to ask someone else or to treat her with respect while you figured it out? Ethan faltered. I just followed procedure. Procedure? Sophia repeated, her voice dripping with disbelief. Is it procedure to make someone feel like they don't belong? Is it procedure to lie about table availability? Ethan opened his mouth to respond but quickly shut it. I checked the system myself, Sophia said, her voice firm. There were no reservations blocking those tables. You lied to her. And for what? The room was silent now, all eyes glued to the confrontation. Olivia stood quietly behind her daughter, her heart swelling with both pride and sadness. You're fired, Sophia said, her words sharp and final. Ethan's face turned red. Wait, no, I didn't mean. I don't care what you meant, Sophia interrupted. You disrespected my mother. You disrespected this restaurant. Get your things and leave. Ethan hesitated, looking to Daniel for support, but the manager remained frozen. Without another word, Ethan grabbed his notepad and disappeared into the back. Sophia turned to Daniel next. And you, she said. I expected better. You let this happen right under your nose and tried to cover it up. Consider this your warning. We'll be having a conversation about your future here. Daniel swallowed hard and nodded. Sophia then faced the room, her voice steady. To everyone here, I sincerely apologize for what you witnessed tonight, she said. Blossom Bistro was built on the idea that everyone deserves to feel welcome. What happened here tonight goes against everything we stand for. Several patrons nodded in agreement, and one even began clapping. Sophia turned back to her mother. Come on, Mom, she said softly. Let's get you a table. The murmurs in the restaurant quieted as Sophia Grant led her mother, Olivia, toward a table near the center of the room. The tension lingered like static in the air, but Sophia's presence had shifted the dynamic. The staff moved quickly to prepare the table, laying out fresh linens, refilling water glasses, and placing menus. Olivia lowered herself into the chair, her movements measured and composed despite the whirlwind of emotions she felt inside. Sophia sat across from her, her face still taut with restrained anger. Mom, Sophia said gently, placing a hand on Olivia's. I'm so sorry this happened. It's not your fault, Sophia, Olivia replied, her voice steady but tinged with exhaustion. But it shouldn't have happened. Not here. Not in the place you built. Sophia's eyes softened. You're right. It shouldn't have. She turned her head sharply as Daniel Lewis, the manager, cautiously approached the table. He held a clipboard, but his shoulders slumped as if the weight of the evening bore down on him. Ms. Grant, he began nervously, addressing Sophia. And Mrs. Grant. He nodded toward Olivia. I want to apologize again for how this was handled. I take full responsibility. Sophia raised a hand, cutting him off. Responsibility isn't just about apologizing, Daniel. It's about taking action. Daniel swallowed, nodding quickly. Of course. I'll make sure we review all policies and provide additional training for the staff. This was unacceptable, and we'll fix it. Sophia's gaze didn't waver. You'll do more than fix it. I want a full audit of every customer interaction from the past month. I want to know if this was an isolated incident or if there's a deeper problem. And starting tomorrow, every single employee, including you, will undergo training on inclusivity, customer service, and unconscious bias. Daniel's eyes widened slightly, but he nodded. Understood. Sophia leaned forward slightly. I need to be clear, Daniel. If something like this ever happens again, if anyone walks into this restaurant and feels unwelcome because of their race, gender, or background, there won't be another warning. Do you understand me? Yes, Ma'am, Daniel said quickly. Absolutely. Good, Sophia said, her voice sharp. Now get back to work. Daniel hurried off and Olivia exhaled, finally allowing herself to relax a little. As their server, one of the more senior staff members, arrived with appetizers and fresh drinks, Olivia picked up her water glass. She took a sip, savoring the coolness, before speaking softly. Sophia, do you know how many times this has happened to me? Sophia's brows furrowed. What do you mean? This, Olivia gestured around the room, being dismissed. Overlooked. Judged the moment I walked in the door. Tonight wasn't the first time. It's just the first time it happened in your restaurant. Sophia's grip tightened on her napkin. I'll make sure it's the last. Olivia smiled faintly. I believe you. But Sophia could see something deeper in her mother's eyes, a weariness that came from years of facing these battles. Sophia leaned forward. You've spent your whole life fighting these moments, haven't you? Olivia nodded. Yes, and I'm tired, Sophia. I really am. Sophia reached across the table, squeezing her mother's hand. You shouldn't have to fight anymore, she said softly. Let me fight this one for you. Meanwhile, the diners who had witnessed the earlier confrontation began to speak among themselves. Some nodded in approval as they watched Sophia take charge, while others appeared reflective, perhaps recognizing their own biases. A young woman at a nearby table leaned toward Olivia. Mom, she said hesitantly, I just wanted to say I'm so sorry you had to go through that. It was wrong, and I admire how strong you've been. Olivia smiled warmly. Thank you, dear. I appreciate that. Another man approached Sophia, holding up his phone. I recorded what happened earlier, he said. I think people need to see this to know it's not okay. Sophia paused before nodding. Share it, she said firmly. Maybe it'll make someone think twice before treating someone else the same way. The man nodded and walked away, and Olivia let out a soft sigh. It's amazing, Olivia said, how quickly the world can see something now. When I was your age, these things would happen in silence. No one ever believed us. Sophia's gaze hardened. Well, now they will. A short distance away, Ethan Moore emerged from the back of the restaurant, holding a cardboard box filled with his belongings. He avoided eye contact as he hurried past the diners and out the door, but Olivia caught sight of him. For a moment she felt pity not for his actions, but for his ignorance. She hoped he would take this experience and learn from it, though she couldn't be sure. Sophia, however, had no such softness in her expression as she watched him leave. This isn't just about him, Mom, she said. This is about making sure people like him don't get to decide who belongs and who doesn't. Sophia exhaled, her shoulders visibly relaxing. I just wish I had been here sooner. None of this should have happened. But you fixed it, Olivia said, looking at her daughter with admiration. That's what matters. Sophia smiled back, but before she could respond, a waiter one Olivia didn't recognize appeared at their table, carrying a beautifully decorated birthday cake. The cake was adorned with delicate pink and gold frosting, and in the center, elegant lettering spelled out, "Happy birthday, Mom." Olivia's eyes widened in surprise, and for the first time that evening, tears pricked at the corners of her eyes. "You did this?" Olivia asked, looking at Sophia. "Of course," Sophia replied, grinning. "I ordered it days ago. I was planning to surprise you after dinner." Olivia let out a soft laugh, shaking her head. "You still managed to surprise me." The waiter carefully placed the cake on the table and lit the candles, stepping back respectfully as Sophia leaned in. "Make a wish, Mom," Sophia said. Olivia looked around the restaurant. The earlier tension had melted away, and now there was a sense of warmth. Several patrons who had witnessed the earlier incident gave her encouraging smiles. A few even clapped softly as the candles flickered in the dim light. She closed her eyes, not because she believed in wishes, but because she wanted to savor this moment, a moment of love, resilience, and triumph. When she opened them, she blew out the candles, and Sophia clapped enthusiastically. The cake was sliced, and the two women savored each bite. Olivia couldn't help but laugh as Sophia smudged a little frosting on her own nose while cutting a piece. The conversation flowed easily now, shifting from the stress of the evening to fond memories of past birthdays. Sophia shared stories from the early days of running the restaurant, and Olivia recounted tales from her youth. Stories Sophia had heard a dozen times but still enjoyed. "I remember how nervous you were when you first opened this place," Olivia said, her voice laced with pride. "But look at what you've built. It's more than a restaurant, it's a symbol." Sophia smiled, setting down her fork. "I built it for people like you, Mom, for people who deserve to feel welcome wherever they go. And I won't let anyone ruin that." Olivia reached across the table, taking her daughter's hand once more. "You've done more than build a restaurant, Sophia. You've built a legacy." Sophia's eyes glistened, but she quickly blinked the tears away, squeezing her mother's hand in return. As the evening drew to a close, Sophia leaned back in her chair and glanced around the restaurant. "Things are going to change around here," she said. "I'll make sure of it." "I know you will," Olivia replied with certainty. Sophia smiled. "But tonight isn't about work. It's about you. Happy birthday, Mom." "Thank you, sweetheart," Olivia said, raising her glass. "For everything." They clinked glasses, the sound ringing softly in the warm, candlelit space. The shadows of the earlier confrontation faded away, leaving behind the glow of love, resilience, and celebration. And for the first time that night, Olivia felt truly at peace, surrounded by the warmth of her daughter's love and the quiet promise of better days ahead.